Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 32. I didn't think I was going to get that number right because, as you can tell from this intro, it's been a little rough of a start. This is our live stream weekly music production, music technology podcast. My name is Sunwarper, and with me today is Eon Lake. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking me. How are you?
That is very formal. What have you been up to?
Well, pretty much the same sort of thing. I've been watching your stuff, and I've been giving individual bits of kit some more love. Because
Nice. So no new pieces
a lot
of
out of your stuff, especially the circuit. And I thought, right, I'm going to upgrade my Digitact and play with that a lot, and it's been fun. And I've been chaos padding like crazy because I finally got the right channel working on it.
Oh, there you go. Are you putting those together, the Digitact and the Chaos Pad? Ooh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Have you been playing with the song mode that we talked about last week?
I had a quick go at it.
Nice, yeah.
I forgot to check whether or not you can change time signatures in it, though, because I'll need that.
Yeah, that would be important. And Hydro Fighter's in the chat. He says, "Hey guys, how you doing, Hydro Fighter? Great to see you. We'll get you on in a little bit." And even Curtis is in the chat. Wow, look at that. And Curtis happens to be in the video as well. Curtis, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm here, there, and everywhere these days. It seems to be a little bit bunged up, but all good. Yeah,
I'm with you there, man. I felt so sick the last 2 or 3 days. So if you see me muting myself, it's because I'm coughing. So yeah. And Shady Rich is also in the chat. He says, "Yo, yeah, hey, how's it going, Shady? Good to see you here." We are live. If anybody wants to help support the channel, leave a like on the video and consider sharing it to Twitter, Instagram, all that. It helps a ton. Eon Lake was also mentioning about the song mode. I just wanted to mention we're trying a new thing where we're taking shorter clips from the longer format podcasts and we're posting them. They're about ranging from 5 to 10, 15 minutes. If you like that kind of content, check it out. We did a cut of it where we talked about the song mode and went through it. We watched a video from Electron and Ricky Tinez. Bendu is in the chat. He's got a wave and then a bunch of waves. Hey, Bendu, how's it going, man? Love the extended orbit.
It was a hell of a one, wasn't it? It kicked it off very nicely.
Yeah.
And yeah, really hell of a way to go. Lots of unreleased stuff there. It's a hell of a mix. So that's always what you want.
Yeah, 59 Perlin is also in the chat. We got a lot of people in the chat today. He says, "Yo, bros, hey, how's it going? What's up? What are you up to? Working on some Digitact jams?" I love those videos, I tell you, man. It makes me want to Digitact so bad.
I know you mentioned. Is it just the small boxes? It is just the small boxes because the Octatrack and the analog rhythm and all those have a songish mode that's very similar.
Yeah,
perhaps a bit more complicated though. Looking at it, to be fair.
Well, the Octatrack looks very complicated, just in general. I mean, that thing looks like 8 steps just to get it to play.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, what are we doing today, Curtis?
Well, first off, we're having a look at your album, aren't we? So, Radiant Visage. Did it go up on Bandcamp today or does it go up on Friday?
Friday. Everything goes on Bandcamp and streaming all on Friday.
So on pre-order.
So,
yeah, it is on pre-order. There's, I think, 5 or 6 songs that are available now.
Yeah, so we're going to be taking the first hour or so. We'll be going through that, and we'll be going through track by track, and then we'll be having a little chat in between the tracks. A chat in between the tracks. Oh, that could be a name for a segment.
Chat between the tracks. Yeah, it'll be about 3 tracks and then a chat. Yeah, chat between the tracks.
And then we'll be talking about singles, releasing singles, and pros and cons, and how we kind of take strategies and whether or not we do it, etc., etc. So yeah, that's what we got to do it. So should we go straight in with Radiant Visage for now?
Yeah, I think so. And if anybody has any questions or anything, we will be in the chat during it and after and all that. We'll talk in between. So if you want to ask anything, just pop it in the chat.
Yeah. Before we do run across people, we got Bendu, we got Hydra Fighter, we got 59 Perlum, we got Shady in the chat. These guys are our patrons, and we love you for it. This stream is brought to you by our patrons. We couldn't do without them. If you want to be a patron, consider going across to patreon.com/audionautics and making a pledge. They start at $2, and you get extra content, an extra podcast. You get some early access to all our stuff, and we're part of a community here on Twitter where you can do all stuff, little extras where we share tips and tricks and stories, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to have you over there. And Survey Channel's in the chat. How's it going? 59 Perlin, really quick, I do want to address this. He said, don't understand the hype around the song mode on Digitac. And Eon Lake, who is in 2 places at once, said it's pretty convenient versus pattern chaining. So I think we could get into that at some point, maybe later in the episode if we have time. If not, we'll talk about it next week.
So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems pretty cool, especially like with the patterns on the SP in that way, and then like with the pocket operator, when you trigger and it just goes through it, it kind of seems like that. So we'll talk about it though, and I'd love to get your take on it, 59 Perlin as well. But for now, should we move over and start listening to some tunes?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Yeah, let's
right.
have a listen. So take us through it. Let's go.
All right, so I'm going to switch it over, and then this is still kind of new the way we're doing it, so just if you don't hear anything or something, let me know. It won't play at first. I have to switch to it. So with that, let's transition.
Oh yeah, okay, lead into it. Well, there we go. There is. There's a lead into it there.
I abruptly realized it was transitioning. It had already transitioned to the picture. Like, I forget it's not the live. What we're seeing live is not what's actually happening. There's like a 10-second lag, so I kind of just threw Josh into it. So, anyways.
Good. So yeah, tracks 1, 2, and 3 of Radiant Visage, which is out on Friday. Sunwarper's upcoming LP. I mean, it's a hell of an introduction to an album. It's a great way to start. Yeah, just increasing in tenacity as you go. We had the first one was a particular standout for me, just because I mean, for me at least, the intro is always a hell of a starting point to go. It's obviously a starting point, but it's a great way to kind of set the tone. Was that piano? Was that improv?
It was improv and then fixed with MIDI. But you can see on my Instagram from a couple of months ago, there's a reel of me playing the piano, and I think I wrote like Chaos in a Distant Star, and that was the original improv, and then I just kind of tweaked it with some MIDI changes and stuff like that, and then added more and more.
That's cool. That was it was burning. I mean, it's one of those, just you can tell it's a vibe come from the heart. You know what I mean? It's really nice. It's what you want to see.
I like it when somebody's got the guts to not kick the door in with the first song. You know,
it's that Boards of Canada method. You start with a short little vignette, and then you launch in.
When I first heard it, it really set the mood for me, and I thought, oh, this feels like the beginning of something big, you know, rather than somebody just like, well, this is my loudest, fastest song to try and grab your attention.
I saved that for later, don't you worry.
Well, in the name of saving that for later. So that's for tracks 1, 2, and 3. Let's have a listen to 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That is 4, 5, and 6. Wow. So I mean, I'll completely continuing that kind of like spacey vibe as we go down. We have Our View from Space, Alcove, and Glass Taurus.
In the opposite order.
Yeah, I mean, I play by my own rules, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the track list changed so much when I was giving you the images for the artwork that I could see you getting confused by it.
I mean, well, for anyone, if you have a look at the old project files we've got for making the artwork, I think there's about 15 different iterations, and they're all in different orders. So yeah, it makes sense.
There's different songs and everything.
It's mental. It's mental. But yeah, okay. So I'm curious. So we got Our View, like I say, we got Glass Taurus, Alcove, and Our View from Space, and then. I mean, are these naming structures? You know how I love a good name. I love a good naming structure. Is there like a common theme throughout this album about how you are naming them, or is each song just got its own vibe and its own story, and they're clumped together, or how's it work?
Kind of both. So as we discussed just a second ago, since it changed so many times, like the original concept for the album, there's some skeletons of it. If you look at like Eudaimonia, Alcove, Glass Taurus to a degree, and a few others later on, where it was going to be much more live instruments, and then I had some drum samples that I would layer with MIDI drums and things like that, and that was kind of the original concept, and I wanted it to progressively get more and more synthy and synthwave, so it was like this arc. That kind of changed as I went around, so the names never really changed for those songs, so I kind of just created a structure around that, so the names are kind of independent of each other and also tell somewhat of a story. It's like Chaos in a Distant Star starts with like seeing space from afar. Our View from Space, you're already in space, and then it gets very synthy and like futuristic as the album goes on in terms of instrumentation and things like that. So there's sort of a story. You got to listen to it to piece it together. You know, I still want it to be, when you listen to it, you form your own story, but I just want to kind of give some guides or something, so to speak.
That's fair. What are you thinking, Howard?
I want to know how much of this stuff is in your head before you write the music, or how much of it is inspired by the first ideas that you get down and you think, hey, that makes me think of, and then you kind of go with it. As a secondary question, at what point do they get named, which is kind of on the same point?
Well, I was going to say, is it a shock if I say both? Certain songs will start, like, as I'm writing it, I go, oh, that's the name, and I just name it, and then that kind of, like, I think, well, Glass Taurus is the oldest song on the album. It's from 2015 or something, and I reworked it, but that came much later due to the whole pandemic and, like, reworking on the story. And then from there, I think Alcove was one of the first songs I wrote, and I kind of wanted that to define the album, and I went on from there. So it just varies by track, really. Like I did have an overarching story that I wrote out, and then I started putting the tracks that I had to fit that. Does that make sense? Like I have the tracks, they have names, and then once I have the story, I kind of piece it together. And that's kind of how I'm doing the next group of releases next year, is I have these themes, and then I'm putting the tracks together and things like that.
Oh, there we go. Should we continue? Where are we at next? That was 6. We're on. Let's go from track 7, 8, and 9. Then.
Let's do it. All right, here we go.
Oh, that was a bit lush. That I think you guys were chatting for those three, and I was just kind of just.
I know you were just
I was
silent,
just sort of
vibing out.
zoning out. Yeah, I love. It's a great movement of the album. I think it's my 3 favorite tracks on the album.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I mean, Hydro Fighter said it. It's very old school Deadmau5.
Yeah, I'm
I remember
a
listening
huge
to it and think
Deadmau5
when you
fan,
sent them through. Yeah, when you sent them through, I remember thinking, "Oh, that's random album title right there." You know?
That's one of my favorites. I do feel
yeah.
like Radiant Visage is the song is probably like my closest ode or homage to Trues.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see
With
that.
those like big mid-fi drums, and all that. So,
It's cool. Man. I was curious as to your chord progressions. Like when you're kind of like jamming them out, do you have a particular set that you go for when you're going to come to the keys, or is it just a case of just hitting and seeing what comes out and then making up stuff from there?
I mean, you know the answer. Both. Sometimes I'm just playing, like with Chaos and a Distant Star. I was just playing and seeing what fit. Other times I'll start in a key and use like a what do they call it? Those chord things, the chord plugins that like you can set a scale plugin. Sorry, so it sets the scale like C minor, and I'll export that progression as MIDI and then change it to use modal. So like instead of staying in C minor, I'll like use a chord that's not in the key. And I just like to see, because then you have a basis of a cool sounding chord progression, but you can modulate it and see what you can get from it. So that's one of my favorite ways to do it. But yeah, I also just jam out, or I'll write things on guitar and then convert it to MIDI and build it from there.
Oh, fair enough. What are you thinking, Ian? Like,
I just like the way you hit a patch of different songs, and it's not just. I like to mix up songs a little bit in the running order, but I like the fact that you get songs that it's almost like a movement in a symphony in ways. It's like they sit together well, and I quite like listening to it this way as well, in sort of chunks, because the chunks seem to really go together.
Well, it was written in like a 4-act structure, so to speak. So, I mean, the way that Curtis broke it up is exactly how I imagined it. You have the intro and then the middle part and then this big, more bombastic section with synths, and then it slows down at the end.
It feels like that effort and thought has gone into it.
Oh, well, thank you.
I like the idea of doing it like that, and on a slightly larger scale than just like, well, I've had a slow song, let's have a fast song.
I also tried to group them in terms of, like I was saying originally, like the synthier stuff sticks together, and then it like kind of flowed. So like you have the first 3 tracks are much more live instruments. The next group is live mixed with other stuff, and then this one is like very synth heavy, and then the last 2 are kind of on their own as like the come down, so to speak.
It works great. I mean, it's nice to see something structured in that way. It's nice to have that vision in it as well.
Yeah, like you say, like just
for me.
Yeah, like have there's some thought put into it, and it's not a case of like just okay, I'm gonna jam these together. You tell a story of what you're doing. It's cool.
I mean, here's my thing. I know I release a lot of music, so when I put an album out, I want it to have its identity, and like there's a reason it's an album rather than just a couple of EPs or singles or this and that. Like it's there for a reason as a cohesive body of work.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Good about it because it has an eye on long form. It has an eye on being listened to as an album. It's not just like, well, here is a collection of songs put together as an album that I expect you'll listen to individually. It's like I like a journey, and this is one.
Well, there we go.
With you.
Yeah. With that in mind, let's listen to the bookend of this album. Let's listen to the last 2 tracks, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
that is a hell of a way to finish an album. I mean, and again, like lulling you down and coming back as you come back down to earth, kind of thing. Which, dare I say, you probably thought about somewhat.
Yeah, a little bit, just a pinch.
I know they're all your tracks, and I know that obviously they all hold a lot of warmth in your heart. But as the creator, is there any particular one that stands out for you, and why?
Yeah, probably either Yesterday's or Our View from Space.
Can you tell us why?
Yeah, so Our View from Space, I think I mentioned it in the chat, but it was just created. I had that guitar part that's in the second bit, like the much more obvious guitar part. And then I just started adding like oohs, ahs, hums, things like that with my microphone. I chopped it up and then just created all of these different vocal takes. It was something I watched about the original Halo soundtrack. Marty O'Donnell,
Yeah.
he posted something about one of the songs. I always thought it was like this woman doing the background vocals, and it's actually him just improvising these like crazy wails, like, you know, just going for it on a microphone. And I was like, that's kind of cool. So I did that and just chopped it up, added reverbs and stuff, and then all of the intro part of that song is that same guitar part, but with duper passive, because you don't want me to say it, on all the parts to make this like 60 sound.
Like
And
the
then-
cloud is ultra big.
Yeah, ultra big. As Big Cloudy said, yeah, the alternative to it, ultra big. And then Yesterday's was a sort of 2022 reprise of Glass Taurus, because I wrote Glass Taurus in 2015, and when I was reworking it for this one, I saw all these stupid production things I did at the time, not knowing. Like, I scooped the mids out of the guitar, so they're just like almost unheard. So I wanted to kind of take those sound elements from it, like the delayed snares and things like that, and see what I could do and how it would sound, and like with how I make music now. So it was like a much more layered approach and things like that. So those are probably the two that I enjoyed making the most.
I'm getting bored with that. That's where you go.
And I just want to say a huge thanks to everybody in the chat. It means a lot that you guys are digging the album. It was a long time in the making. I actually started this before Future Fade. And as Eon, like, and Curtis know, I was just like never happy with where it was going. So I made Future Fade in the interim, somewhat stupidly, because it just like meant not working on that album for a year. But by taking that huge break, when I came back to it, I was really like, I had learned so much from Future Fade, from making songs each month and like just calling them done, that I was able to just get these out quickly, finish them, and it really became something I hadn't intended, and I just love the outcome. So it means a lot that you guys are vibing with it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So if you have trouble writing your album, write another album.
Yeah, there you go. That's the oblique strategy from Brian Eno, right? That's the new card edition that they're putting in.
But the funny thing is, when you're picking your favorites there, it occurred to me that you could pick any two songs on that and I'd approve of your choice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good thing, right? And I just think it sounds very evolved. It's very you, but it's really evolved in a way that your music has become. I mean, it was always good to start with, but you know, you see it yourself now. We're working on an old song that you've come a long way, and it does come across, and that's no detriment to anything that's come before, but still very much moving forwards. Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
That means a lot, man. You're I really appreciate all of your help. Both of you guys were listening to this album as it progressed through and through, and all of your advice and things like that really helped me just kind of get through it and get it out there and be proud of what I made. So
It's a solid it's a solid album, and every track has a story in its own right, which then give way to this big overarching saga. And it's just everything about it so cohesive and really well thought out. I mean, and as to reiterate what you say, I'm like it's Sunwarper like leveled up kind of thing.
2.0.
Yeah, Sunwarper like
To the point that when I get to the end of it, I kind of just want to be left alone for a bit.
Did I make you that depressed?
Digest, you know, it's like don't want anything to spoil it either.
well, you've got those.
For a bit now.
Yeah, you've got those dusty beats. I mean, people in the chat talking about the dusty beats, like
Yeah,
very
Dusty
kind of,
Rhodes, the best session
Dusty
guy
Rhodes,
in Nashville, as Big Cloudy said.
like
You can afford session musicians like that now, can't you?
if you look at Nostos, like Nostos,
Don't ask me, man. I just Googled it when I was looking for Return Home, because that's
Well,
kind of the point of the track, is after all the spacey, synthy stuff, it's like the return home to the instruments and grounding.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So, okay, if you look at, I mean, that's very kind of, I was listening to it and going, okay, well, that's like Blue. It's a hark back to like early 2020 Sunwarper, where you've got like Blue Sky Emissary, for example, right? And then you got all this new stuff. Like I've listened to your new stuff that is still unreleased and stuff, where you're going, so to speak. And you've got earlier on in the album, you've got kind of the way for that, and it's just, you can just see your progress as an artist as you come through, and like this collection of just where you've been, where you're at, and where you're going, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much so.
I'm finding it inspirational.
Exactly, yeah. Sunwarper's album is out on Friday. You can pre-order it now on Bandcamp. I can put the link in the. I have put the link in the chat, and I will put it again for anyone interested. Hell of an album. You can get it now. There's a couple of physicals left, isn't that right?
Yeah, there's one special edition of the CD left. It comes with a postcard that's got handwritten note, and then some stickers, and of course the CD itself, which is still wrapped. I was making all the ones that have already been ordered, and then there are just CDs left, and then vinyl is over on Kunaki. I have the link on the Bandcamp.
Well, there we go. So yeah, grab that before it goes. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday. It's gonna be a hell of a release radar. That's just
yeah, I think it'll probably be Radiant Visage, because that's what I pitched to Spotify.
Well, let's have a listen, shall we?
Yeah,
we'll find out. So yeah, if you guys vibed with the album as much as we did, go share it and tell people about it, because I mean, we're all producers and we're all like our stuff, and yeah, it's a great way to get the word around. But yeah. Well done, mate. Really nice work.
Thank you. Should we get into some news, though? I want to talk about gear now.
We want to talk about gear. All right, yeah. So let's move right across. So, as the precursor, let's go into some gear. So, do you want to start with the DS1? Let's look at the DS1.
This really got my nostalgia. Hold on, I want to see. I do have it back there, but it's gonna hard to reach. But yeah, I saw Boss is doing I think it's Waza, like a new version of the DS1, that old school orange distortion pedal that any guitarist or bassist probably instantly recognizes. I think it used to be like $50 or something. It was super cheap. Are you able to get sound by any chance?
I can, yeah. I don't want it to go over you.
Yeah, no, go for it. So it's just like it's a classic, but it's revised.
I'm right back in my teen band,
right?
When I was in my garage.
I would say for some reason they've mistakenly put it on the guitars instead of the drums. I don't know why that is.
I used to give it to my bassist because he didn't have a distortion pedal, and we were doing metal, and I was like, we need distortion. So I had the Mesa and the Marshall, so I was like, just use this, man, and we would just crank that thing. Probably sounded terrible, but we didn't record. We just did live shows, and man. I saw that and it just brought back memories, and I just wanted to bring it up for any guitarists, if anybody that uses this pedal. I was going to say plugin. Just, there's a new version. I think, though, one of the not so awesome bits of news is it's $150, I believe, when it releases. So a steeper price tag.
For a distortion pedal, yeah,
Yeah, now, to be fair, we were waxing on about that Big Muff that was also a plugin. That's like $300, but that's also a plugin, which kind of gives it its own nuance and stuff. This, while cool, I think is a little bit much compared to what it used to be. What about you, Chris? What do you think?
I mean, in a similar vein, yeah. I mean, if you look at where the people who got this, like, this is like your first like distortion pedal you get when you're starting out. Yeah. Like, you can buy distortion pedals for like $40-$50, and that's that. I mean, they're shit, but I mean, that's kind of where their market's at.
Is that their tagline? They're shit.
They're like, if you're gonna buy if you buy these Boss single box pedals, like, they're aiming they're at the lower end of the market. They're not like they're not like your Glass Instruments, where they're high quality tube and valve or anything like that, or Blackstar.
Yeah, and if you're looking for something to mangle your sound, that's kind of a good thing, isn't it? You think?
Yeah. So I mean, I love Boss. You always remember what you're getting with Boss. $150 for a distortion pedal, maybe not, but maybe that's just being being excited. We've just spent an hour talking about your album and I'm all jazzed up. So maybe
I mean,
that's just me
there's-
thinking I got a bigger voice than I've actually got. You know
There's
what I mean?
also inflation to keep in mind. When did the DS1 come out, and how long is it at the price it's at? I don't even remember how much it was. I want to say it was 50 or 80, but I don't know. I could be wrong. If anybody knows in the chat, let me know. I mean, you know, I get it. And like Shady Ridge says in the chat, Boss makes quality stuff. And I guess
Yeah,
this Waza or whatever it's called, they're doing like these new versions of these pedals that they make, and I guess they're much better sounding and stuff. I mean, just listening to that distortion sounds great. So,
I mean, I love Boss to pieces. I do want to get. I mean, again, you got the 505 and the 303. Their looper system is the best that you got in the looping world.
it doesn't Roland own Boss now? I think they
so.
do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think the 202 was Boss, the precursor to the 404. I think it was a Boss 202, and then it became the Roland.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I've seen those 202s, and I think they say Boss.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, a solid distortion for what you wanted to see. You never know. I mean, I would like to see what happens if you stick it on the drums here. Like, that would be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a distortion pedal for things with 1/4-inch jacks.
There you go.
Is what I'm prepared to say. Anything you can plug into it.
Put a
It's gonna go
microphone
like
through
that.
it and sing.
Yeah, it's your job.
It could sound like Converge.
Yeah, but that. Yeah. Okay. What? Okay. So, what? Moving along. What's this going on in Apple Music for Artists? Somewhat.
Oh yeah, they added some new features. I have to open it. This was I saw it a couple days ago and then forgot to reread it this morning. It was a very busy morning, but they've added some new features to Apple Music for Artists. Let's see. New set of options to personalize your artist page. Simple, quick way to upload lyrics. I thought that was huge. If you do lyrics, I know a lot of us don't, but if you have vocals or even like samples, you could put the lyrics in. And then a new look for your analytics. I don't know. Do you guys use Apple Music for Artists? Have you linked your accounts?
I do, but and they contacted me about this. You know, I make it sound like, you know, they asked my opinion because I'm a punter, and I tend to just look at it on my phone though, and I don't really see any comments on my phone. It's only really the web interface that's changed.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I've never logged in on desktop. I always use my phone, and I was all excited when I saw the email, and I jumped to the app and was like, it's the same. So yeah, just scroll down a little bit more. I think they've added a couple more things. There was something about with the bios. You could do like Q&As or something. Go up a bit. I think it's where it says artist content. Let me see. Image and personality are key. Upload your lyrics. Well, maybe I saw it somewhere else. I'll look and get back to you guys about it. But it was something in the email where it was talking about like this new Q&A function. I didn't get a chance to check it out, so I will look at it and get back to you on it.
I'll have a look.
I mean, does anybody in the chat use Apple Music for Artists? That's kind of important to know. But I'll let you know regardless. It's something cool to log into and get connected. But yeah, I know some people just don't like streaming at all, so maybe they don't use it, you know.
I'll make it work.
I think I mean, they're good changes.
Yeah.
I was just a little bit sort of, oh, okay, that it's just on the web.
Maybe they're gonna change it, but their app is very slow. I have issues with it.
Looked at the platforms that access it the most and looked at those first, because I just imagine that most people that are going to be looking at you know, on the other side of the boundary are going to be looking on mobile platforms more than desktops, I would think. Yeah. I mean, they're all good tools, and arguably some stuff that other platforms have had already. And I was also thinking, yeah, okay, but what's taking so long?
Yeah,
one of the biggest companies in the world, and like we'll get to it when we get to it.
That's probably why.
Get to it when we get to it. But it's nice to see. Nice to see on that front. I've just had a ding dong. I don't know if you guys have just had a ding dong, but you know what the ding dong means, don't you? Hydrophyte's just turned up in the lobby.
Ah.
Yeah.
So I thought you meant a fight.
Yeah. Like, what? I do. Before we get to the round robin, though, I quickly want to mention about a new YouTube feature. I know we have some people that do not like shorts in the chat, but I wanted to mention it because this is actually a pretty huge change, and I thought this is a really easy way to make shorts and reels. So if you have any YouTube videos, the normal horizontal 16:9 videos, you can now on your phone, on the YouTube app, it's got to be your own videos. There's a little button that has like the little shorts logo and a plus sign. You can hit that and instantly create a 15 to 60 second short from any segment in your video. Now, the one caveat that I've seen so far, and hopefully they change it, you can't change the crop as the video plays. So wherever you set the crop, because you're going from 16:9 to 9:16, so it's going to be vertical, it's like stuck there. But what's really cool is once you make the short and post it, the short will have a link to the full-length video. So when you're watching the short, anyone can click it and watch the full-length video. So it's a way to, you still have to deal with the shorts format and all that, but you can possibly get people to your longer form content and your normal, what is it, resolution?
Way round.
Yeah. I will say, I know we talked about shorts a couple of weeks back when last time I was here. And we were all a bit kind of suspicious of them. But we've started implementing more shorts here on Audionautic, and we have seen significant growth. We've now crossed 200 subscribers, which is yay!
Yeah, thank you everybody for subscribing.
Thank you very much. It's lovely. It's a nice little milestone to get to.
Yeah, and anecdotally too, I did a short every day from that method for like 5 days, and each one got more and more views, more subscribers, and all that. It's if you've got content you can cut like that, and then you can download it and post it to Insta and TikTok. It'll have the shorts sticker, which supposedly they don't like, but the algorithms are so messed up on Instagram right now anyways, you might as well just post it.
Well, this is the point that I wanted to make. So they've incorporated, or they brought in a new feature here on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're utilizing this new feature, and we're actually seeing results from it. Whenever personally I've used, so when Reels came onto Instagram, so I started posting Reels on Instagram, or when they start doing carousels, or you name it, when they bring it in, supposedly they're pushing it.
Exactly.
But I've not seen that growth. But we have on YouTube. Say what you want, but we have seen growth, and we have seen them actively pushing something that is now working. So that's cool. That's the first time I've seen that. That's quite nice to see.
Yeah, it's very cool. So if you guys have content like that, try it. If you would like me to make a video, I can screen record my phone and show you how to make it, let me know in the chat or in the comments. We'll post it on the Audionautic page. But it's a really quick and easy way to just get content from what you already have. You don't have to make any more. So I thought that was really cool. And it seems like Curtis is saying YouTube is pushing this. And then you potentially get people to check out your longer content too with that link back. So I thought that was really cool on their part.
It does seem like a lot of work. Sunwarper and I have been, but I will say, Sunwarper and I have been kind of working out on our kind of strategy over the past couple of weeks, I'd say. And, where we take content and we kind of shift it into different places. And it doesn't seem to be it's not as taxing, and it's not as time consuming as you'd think it is, basically.
Well, that's the thing. If you're being smart about making one piece of content and utilizing it in multiple ways, it's a lot less work. Whereas if you're making film a horizontal video, then film the reel, you're making two things of content. You're making one. The issue with our podcast is we can't crop on YouTube because of the way this setup is with 3 faces and things like that. So you have to do it. So that's one thing. But you have the things set up and all that, so it's not too bad. But yeah, just keep in mind, like I was saying, you can't move the crop around if you're making the short. I also wanted to add too, really quick, the shorter the short, it seems the more likely it will do well. I did 15-second ones, and then I did 45, 60-second ones, and all the 15-second ones did much better than the longer ones. So ADD attention spans, perhaps, I don't know, but just anecdotal evidence,
We'd like to know if you guys have had any success with shorts or any kind of ideas where you're doing with YouTube. We're following it for now. Seems to be working for us. So yeah, we'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, what you're seeing.
Completely. Any more news, gentlemen?
I don't have the thing open, so if it's not written there, then no.
Yeah, let's do that then. Let's bring Hydra Fighter in. Let's move to the round robin.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that. I don't have to be the bad gatekeeper this week. So
yay.
So let's bring Hydra Fire in. We have a black screen. There we go.
There he is.
All right, Hydra Fire. How you doing, man?
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Karen.
Phantom Power. Phantom Power.
All right.
There we
Hey,
go.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
Been a minute.
How
I
are
think it's
you?
been like I'm good. Your album sounds great, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Yeah. we're
Better
kicking it.
now with you here.
Yeah, yeah.
As you said, it has been a minute, so it's good to have you back, man.
Well, let's steam up this conversation. Maybe we can burn some of that stuff out of Curtis's nose a little bit, unstuff him a little bit. Make it spicy, right?
It just kind of moves it on through. Yeah, no, it's been all a minute since we've been in the room. I was off last week. Howard was off the week before, and yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of. It's the time of year, as they say. It's the time of year. So yeah.
Yeah, and we got another time of year probably coming up in a couple of months, right?
Oh yeah.
A little birdie tells me that you're meeting up with Shady on Friday. Is that correct?
Yeah, how did you know? Shady
'Cause-
told you.
Because Shady told me.
Is
Yeah.
Shady now a bird? Can he transform?
What I want to know is what shenanigans will you two be getting up to on Friday? Because I really want to know what's going on. If there's any KST stuff coming down the line.
No KST stuff. We'll be talking probably about what we want to do with the next KST project, but we haven't started anything with KST, so we're going to be listening to some stuff that we've been working on, probably separately, and maybe just throw some ideas at each other. Probably toss back a couple of beers, and that's kind of our style.
I mean, that's the way to do it, man. That is the way to do it. I wish
what I
that
wanna
Curtis
say.
and I could do that, but we're a little too far away from each other to make that work.
Well,
Okay,
you just
hold
got to hook up with the Kardashians and see if you can borrow their private jet.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll get there one day, man. We'll get there one day. Croc sat, croc em, as the Czechs say. Step by step, we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's fun. We'll get there. So yeah, very nice. It's very nice to have everyone back in, and everyone back doing what they do best. That kind of thing. We have a conjunct week this week. We've kind of fused the round robin and the marketing for this week. This was Sunwarper's idea. Around marketing. Yeah. It was Sunwarper's idea. It's a great idea. We're talking about release strategies once again, and we're discussing the idea of releasing singles. Part of Radiant Visage releases. We had a few singles that were released ahead of the full LP.
Yeah, the waterfall release strategy, as they call it
Yeah.
now. As the cool kids call it, apparently.
As the cool kids call it, as the youth of today call it. Yeah. And we've worked on. We've been talking about this back and forth in our meetings, and we've just been kind of going through it and looking at whether or not in 2022, whether or not singles are the way to go, whether it's albums, and obviously there's a bit in the middle. Tell us what you're thinking about this, Sunwarper.
Well, as you mentioned, with Radiant Visage, I saw, as the title says, diverging distribution strategy, so to speak. It really seemed like on Spotify, and everybody will tell you, release all the time. Spotify tells you release frequently and consistently, and it does seem to work. It catches the algorithm better. You can get on more playlists. You can expand things like that. But I noticed with Bandcamp, it's a little different because Bandcamp is purchasing rather than streaming. And so you're asking someone to buy a single and then another single and then the album, which has the singles on it. And in one way, if you want to grab the singles, you're supporting the artist in a sustainable way, which is awesome. But in contrast to that, when I did Future Fade, which was 1 year of a release, but the release started in January as an album with Silence for 11 tracks and 1 track with music. So if you just bought the album, you got all 12 tracks. And so it seemed like that was a much better way to go on Bandcamp compared to releasing single by single by single than an album. So I just wanted to see what's everyone's take, what they're kind of thinking in 2022 of how they want to release. Do they like singles? There's some pros, mostly with streaming, and then there's some cons. So I thought we'd just talk about it.
And how would you like to kick it off? We have a release strategy little thing that would be cool to go through.
Yeah, why don't you read through that?
So, we live in a world where singles are a thing, and they still will always be a thing to a degree. And there's just some interesting strategies for releasing singles because some people do really well. I've just from people I follow, like Electric Callboy and Vengeant, who are just some names. They always release singles, and they do really well from it. So there's some things to kind of think about.
Yeah.
So the idea of releasing a single in conjunction either ahead or just after an album release, so either following up an album release, or just before a month or two before an LP gets released. This is a bit like the waterfall which Sunwarper did, in the sense that he did a couple of singles. How many
Well, for
singles
the waterfall as well, the key aspect of it being a waterfall is that every single you release, you put the previous ones on that release with the same ISRC codes, the same mix and all that, so that the second you release the new single, it has all the streams already from the other one, and then everyone's listening. So whenever, if one gets picked up on a playlist and you put out the next one, those streams all go towards that release as well. So it's a waterfall, like it just goes. That's the way they call it. It works in that respect, but that's the key aspect of a waterfall, is that you're putting all of the singles together, so it just keeps growing until the album comes out with more subsequently.
Yeah, in that sense. I mean, as well as that, so as well as you put them out and they come on through and they build hype and they kind of create an anticipation for the full release of the album itself, you also have the ability to make shorts and reels on and focus on a single area, which in this ADHD riddled environment in which we live is not a bad thing. It says here, the right song might just mean the right 15 seconds. If you can hone in on a particularly catchy point and hyper focus on that, that is a great way. I mean, if not that we all do that whole TikTok marketing thing, but if you wanted something
for Instagram and YouTube
if you wanted
Shorts,
something
as
to
we're
pick up,
talking about, you know,
if you wanted something to pick up, then that is a good way of doing it. You know, I mean, there's plenty of catchy things in Radiant Visage, for example, that can kind of put these things through, you know, and people can put their ideas to it. Now, it says here, time your single strategically before and after. So we talked about the original one, the single before the LP release in its own right, but then there is always the follow-up after. Are you planning to do a follow-up single somewhere?
Follow-up EP, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's close enough. We do things close enough ways. But it says like here, so they pepper you through. So you got that, if you want to hit those algorithms and that consistency of releasing, they're just kind of like little mini top-ups, so to speak, which from my experience work I wasn't very consistent with mine this year. I put a couple of singles out here and there, but there wasn't enough to catch anything, which is fair enough. The idea of it is if you do it consistently enough, the algorithm will respond to you. Yeah, completely. Stockpile various kinds of recordings for later use. So I suppose this comes from if you're making so many tracks that you are not releasing them all.
If you don't use some, you have B-sides, things like that. I should also add, for the timing around an EP or LP, one thing that can work in terms of the difference between Bandcamp and streaming is that you could put those singles up as a pre-order on Bandcamp. So you're not releasing separate singles that you have to buy separately. It could be just one thing, and then you could release it as a single on Spotify, and then when the album comes out, put it out as an album or EP.
Completely. I mean, like extra versions as well, or like kind of like extended cuts for if you're buying on Bandcamp, that kind of thing.
Remixes, anything like that.
Remixes, yeah. Now this one is where I start getting my teeth start to chatter a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this is looking at it from, I guess, more of a business or commercial aspect. So we can disregard that, I suppose, unless you're trying to get on playlists.
Unless you're trying to get on playlists, yeah, completely.
Some of these things are interesting as musical exercises. I've heard of like this is no long intros and get your hook right at the front.
Yeah.
I've heard various things over the years about, you should never wait more than 2 minutes to get to the real meat and potatoes of what's going on. It's interesting to try and do that a couple of times as a songwriting exercise. I wouldn't necessarily build your life around it, but
keep your songs under 4 minutes. That Curtis, you're out right there.
A lot of people do their radio edit.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Again, Dead Mouse, he does a lot of radio edits.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember doing Axis, and it doesn't. The intro is, I think, about 2.5 minutes, which would never make it to radio in its own right.
Just really quick about the pre-orders in the chat. Big Cloudy says you can't do a pre-order for an individual track on Bandcamp, as I recently discovered. Yeah, that's true. But what I meant was, you put the song up as the EP or album pre-order. So when you launch the pre-order, the single is what's available to stream. But I don't think you're right. You can't do individual pre-orders, and I don't know if it would work anyways, because you just put up the song, but you can't stream it, or you could put like half of the song up, and then change the file before it releases or something. You know, that I guess that's something you could do.
That's one way of looking at it. Number 6 is bit of a. This is a website from.
This is a really
CD
good
Baby.
website, I should say, if you like to keep up on like music things as we do. I mean, you can also just subscribe to us because we talk about all this stuff too. But they give a lot of really interesting info, not just about them as a distributor, but usually at the end they tie it into why you should use them. But you know.
And that last point is absolute nonsense. Don't ever do pre-saves.
Oh yeah, as we've talked about, we have a whole shortcut about we have a short clip about pre-saves and a very interesting article talking about it. I'll link it in the description when this is over, but it's on our channel. It's our Spotify pre-saves worth it is what it's called. And the spoiler alert is they're not.
Yeah.
They're really not.
They're not.
And there's a lot of common sense in that article, and it explains all the reasons why it's a bad idea.
Just really quick to say it is that Spotify has no involvement in the process. You're giving your access to your Spotify account and permissions in your Spotify account to a third party who will, when the song releases, go and like it for you. So it has nothing to do beforehand besides the third party getting your permissions.
Information at all either, do they?
Yeah.
I think the one thing that is worth putting, and it's one thing is skipping down to this number 9 here. The idea of promoting your single ahead of time and after it's released. A lot of people will do. I mean, I'm guilty of this. I've done this so many times. The idea that I've done things up until it's released, and then upon release day, I've said, "Hey, go get it." People have gone and got it,
Beat that cigar out,
and then I'm done.
I would argue post-release is more important because you have a place that people can go to now rather than before it releases. You can't send them anywhere, so it's just a wasted vanity, like in my opinion. Usually, you know, you get a couple hearts, but they don't get to check out the song, so it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It says there, don't promote until your fans can take action. I mean, people,
right there.
I forget stuff. You know, tell me I can go and get it now, and I will. You know, tell me it's out in a month, and I'll forget, and you'll have to tell me again.
Yeah, exactly.
I think stemming from a personal note as well, I think there's a lot of, I mean, if you're talking about one thing for a long time, like you can get kind of a bit jaded with it, and you go like, oh, do people really want me to continue talking about it again? But at the same time, it's what you're trying to promote. Like I've been talking about Maroon now for nearly a year, and I'm tired of talking about it to a degree, but also it's something that is going to come out, you know, soon, and people need to talk about it. And need to kind of, if you want people to buy it, people need to be constantly reminded that it's coming, you know. And I think there's that little voice in the back of your brain that's saying, like, go on, don't talk about it, just stay stum, stay quiet. But you got to kind of just
you have to overcome that.
Idiot.
Say, it's all right. It's all right.
Don't talk about it, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, so that is okay. Those are some ideas about single releases in their own right.
Really quick, Bit Cloudy asks a very important question. He says, what can you do other than just factual social posts after a track is released? So you could do music videos if you don't like to perform things. You could chop up, you know, Curtis makes beautiful reels. Let me just center the screen before I continue because I was focusing on that. Well, there's our Google. Hold on a second. You can do screenshots. You can even just do the artwork, maybe modulating like the art itself and have the music playing. Or if you like to perform or if you play an instrument, you could perform the song live. That's what I like to do is I put video of me playing the song. I'll put video of like a cool canvas that I or Curtis make. You could go to archive.org and get stock footage or something. Pexels has stock footage that's free to use. I would recommend if you download stock footage, do something to the video because a lot of people use the same footage, especially if you're going in one of the first things that pops up when you search something. So, you know, put do what's it called when you double exposure, do something like that. Just kind of change it up a little bit or something. That's my recommendation. You don't have to. I mean, just putting something up is better than nothing. Does that answer your question, Bit Cloudy? Or if you have any other questions about it, let me know. But that would be my recommendation is you could do multiple different types of posts. You could do, this is the live performance. This is me tracking the song. Have a video of the screen of you playing your DAW or on your DAW and be like, here's the MIDI, something like that. And then, make music videos, short music videos like that. Anything like that.
Yeah. I like to see the art side. I'm less of a performer than Sunwarper, and I like the art side of things.
Yeah.
So, like, I made for Fragments release. I did a Fragments album animation, and then I got an animation done for Sector 8, which is just another track on the album, and then wrote the story about that. And there's ways of doing that, like cut up and make just little ways of doing it. Yeah, I should do some reels. Yeah, reels are a great way of doing it.
Make
Reels are
sure
great.
you do them 9:16, not any other format, because Instagram is now, their algorithm in general seems to be messed up right now. I don't know if anybody else is noticing.
Instagram in general is just messed up.
Yeah, well, yeah, but anyways, definitely do a 9:16, the fully vertical. Don't do any sort of like 4x5, 5x4, 3x4, whatever. None of that. It's got to be with them 9:16 now. And then if you make it like that, you can post it on YouTube Shorts. You can post it on TikTok, Twitter, all that. If you want to use any of those, you don't have to. But you're not making any extra content. You just post it in with the same text.
Completely. So back to this idea: singles, no singles, yes, no, maybe pros, cons, and everything. Hydrofighter, where are you sitting?
I'm not a big fan of the singles, although I did just release the one single a month or two back.
Wasn't that like a 20-minute single though?
So
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's not the type of single that we're talking about here to help promote an album or promote an EP or something like that. I've never been a big fan of just pushing out one or two songs. I feel like you need to have a little bit more. I think I like about half of the ideas that were presented on that site. I'm going to probably start moving towards the video thing. I'm going to record everything that I'm going to do going forward because I intend on using controllers for everything. So making the shorts and then probably releasing full videos, like what Sunwarper was just saying, is like post that stuff probably after the release, or maybe use the shorts the week or two before the next release. So it's still up in the air for me. I'm trying to figure out which direction I'm going, but I'm not a big fan of the singles releases, and I just don't like writing like that. And you know what Shady and I have done this year with our releases is we drop it on you. Boom. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's why I was happy to have you on here, because I wanted to talk all of our different kind of release strategies.
Are you seeing something with your new release on Warper about having you did like probably 3 or 4 singles before you're pushing out the full release this weekend, and you said something about the difference of Spotify and the difference of Bandcamp, because I agree with you what you say about Bandcamp, and that's where I usually lean towards. Is when I go there, I want to get the full album thing, but you guys tend to listen to Spotify quite a bit, where you might want that single out there and it's going to fall into some sort of formulated playlist somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, here's how I'm looking at it now, is that if you put a single up on Bandcamp, which I almost wouldn't necessarily advise unless you don't have an album coming or something, but a pre-release single, let's put it. If you're going to do that, I don't think I'd say to put it up individually on Bandcamp, but if you do, I would look at it as your fans who want to long-term support you, they'll grab that, and then when it comes to the album, a lot more people seem to gravitate. It seems like people on Bandcamp gravitate towards larger releases, an EP, an album, multiple songs on it. Whereas on Spotify, if you look at album analytics, it's usually not very big, but a single that you can push to playlists and things like that, or a certain song will do well. And so by having multiple songs releasing consistently on Spotify, you can keep triggering that. Whereas on Bandcamp, it seems like you want to have it spaced out more with a larger release. That's why I had mentioned with Future Fade, it's just one release for a whole year, but new stuff is being added as it goes. Because it was every month I added a new song.
So Spotify and Bandcamp don't really marry up too well.
Exactly.
It's two different generations.
It's like that's what. Yeah, we put as our caption for this episode, diverging distribution, because it seems like you want to kind of do different strategies for each if you want to try to succeed in a sense, or so to speak, in both. And just really quick, BitCloudy said I did 3 reels, I think he's talking about. It's been a minute since he posted it, sorry, in the run-up to release, but they didn't get any traction really. They were on the right ratio. So part of that is possibly, BitCloudy, if you're not posting consistently, that's one thing Instagram doesn't like. You don't just like post out of the blue and then do that. So if that was the case for you, that might be part of it. I will also say, though, the last month or two, the algorithm in general has been messed up. They reverted all those huge TikTok changes they made, and it seems like it screwed up the algorithm. And then also just school started, things like that, so people are on less, things like that. So just keep all that in mind. I wouldn't say stop. I would try, if you wanted to work on social media, you try to do like one piece of content every week if you can, or something like that. Maybe like a work in progress. Just take a screen recording of the DAW if you're using a DAW or whatever, or if you play an instrument, just some video of you playing an instrument. It could be improvs, anything.
You have to be an Instagram addict, essentially, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, they like you being on the platform, interacting with people. I don't care. Right now I'm focusing mostly on my YouTube, and that seems to be better. So this everybody says, I can't face constantly posting. Yeah, and that's all right. Just post when you can and let it be. He says, I
like the YouTube idea though too, because I like the followers more on YouTube.
Exactly.
There's a lot of training stuff like what you do. There's a lot of people doing their performance stuff, looking at their gear or whether they're looking at their screenshots, and a lot of people demoing new toys and software. Right?
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but it's just this notification. Howard Fox has raised a hand. Yeah. No, you're right. Eon, like just 1 second. I've been rambling on, I know. But I think YouTube fosters a much better community, whereas Instagram is all about people trying to hit the algorithm and commenting on your posts because they want to interact, so that Instagram goes, oh, let's show this person because they're interacting with SP404 videos, guitar videos, this and that. Yes, Ian, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, you totally got it. I think that they want to encourage people using the platform a lot. They want to get people on the platform that will get other people on the platform, and that's the kind of behavior that's going to be rewarded. But I think what Big Cloudy is kind of pointing out to me is this kind of, and I felt it a bit, is this kind of what is it? You kind of get worn out with
algorithmic anxiety. That's a song I have coming out.
You're talking about 4 platforms. They all want you to do things a certain way. They want a certain format. They want this. It's like keeping up with them. Instagram, as we know, have changed their minds a million times about what they're trying to be and do and what they want you to do and what they will reward. And there's this burnout that you get from keeping up with all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying with just...
It's like, oh, God, what have I got to do now?
Yeah.
I've got to keep listening to you. Thankfully, Sunwarper's here to tell us this stuff. Because otherwise, you've got the added burden of having to follow the platform, find out what you're supposed to do, but Sunwarper will clear that up for you. And then you've got to do it. And I think the trick probably is if you can streamline the process, remove the friction a bit, and have a process that helps you generate suitable media for all the platforms.
Yeah.
Just work it out beforehand, because if you're treating them individual and so on, it's going to be a massive hassle. Not a lot of fun. You need to make it as easy as possible, and hopefully hit more in one go as much as possible.
Well, I think that comes down to the idea again of like, okay, so you create a piece of content which you then can spread across the different. You find the common denominators between the different brands. So like 9x16 videos, for example, where they're going to work on TikTok, they're going to work on Instagram, they're going to work on YouTube. Right? So you start with a widescreen and then you cut that down in order to report exactly, and you find that Venn diagram coming through and go
Before you change it though, hold on. That's what I was going to say to answer to BitCloud. He said, I like Twitter, but how can anyone be across everything all the time? I guess you need to find one thing that works. That's exactly what Curtis and what I was going to say is you do one piece of content and just kind of make it work for all of them, and really just focus on one specifically that you interact on and things like that, and one that you like, if you like a social media, and maybe you don't, and then just go on it and post and let it be what it is. I was also going to add, it's also important to have your own communities that are away from social media to a degree. Like we have a Discord where we talk, we can post music, we all share and listen to each other. We also have a Patreon specific Twitter where we do even more things like that, and it's a bit smaller, and we really talk about all different things. So it's like find a community slightly away from that can help you and that grows with you and will like your things and things like that. There's tons of them. So if you want to join our Discord, I believe it's in the description. We'd love to have everyone there. But yeah.
Back to the original question of singles. Ian? That wasn't a smooth.
No, you
transition.
got to work on it, Hydro Fighter. Just let Curtis handle that. He's the king of it.
Several things, right? Singles have always existed, right? And for a reason. And I liked singles when I was a kid. I bought singles on vinyl, and they served a purpose, right? They introduced me to artists, and to some degree, and on whatever platform, there's still an argument for that in some cases. And when we look at this stuff, the advice that various platforms give you about how to do this, if you're wanting to maximize your potential on various platforms, these arguments are valid. Although I find myself wondering, if everyone's doing this, then surely the net benefit is less, but maybe you're moving backwards by not doing it. Who knows? But at the same time, so I have all of that in my head, but then on the other hand, looking at where I am with stats and followers and so on, I'm uniquely unencumbered. I can be as artistic as I want because it doesn't really make any difference. I'm not going to worry about dropping 250,000 followers in a day or something like that, because I haven't got anything like that. I can basically do what I want, and the numbers aren't going to change, which is good in a way. It's freeing, and that's the way I choose to look at it at the moment. At the moment, things are getting bunched just in the way that they happen and what they are, and how I want to do it, and whether I feel like. I've got nothing against singles, and I might put one out. I think I'm more likely to do a short EP though. Just it seems like better value, but at the moment it's all very head up my own ass, just doing what I like, sort of thing. Where I am an artist. my music comes out as I see fit, because I'm not actually trying to maximize my potential. But if I did, I would probably start following some of this advice.
Curtis, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I think that the classic way is the best way to go, in the sense that the single release before an album is kind of a nice way to go in that front, because I still believe that hype is a thing. If you're part of that community and you see it and you go, oh, there's a single coming, you can kind of go through. For a personal note, if I've got a track that doesn't fit anywhere else, like I had Columbia come out a couple of months ago that doesn't fit with anything, and it's a very specific story for a very specific thing. It doesn't go with anything else. But yeah, and that's when they do work. I think ultimately all these strategies and all these kind of quick fixes, also to speak, they're more they're around this kind of like get rich quick scheme. I think consistency is the thing, which not so much algorithmic consistency in the sense of the Spotify, but I just think in terms of longevity. I think, for example, when I had Fragments 2 released a couple of weeks ago, Gravity Assist did quite well in terms of Spotify. It did really well on Spotify, and therefore, from what I've seen as a result of that, people are going back to my really early stuff, and people are going back to Astrolab and Philomath and stuff like that. And I've had people hitting me up, like taking things like a couple of my tracks, like Joey or something like that, which are really obscure tracks that no one really pays attention to. But then suddenly people are finding them, and they're being put onto playlists themselves in their own right. And I haven't changed anything. I don't do much social. I do more social media for Audionautic than I do for me. But I'm now seeing the benefits of that come through to my stuff, just because I'm just consistent and I just keep putting stuff out, essentially. That's my way. I think release a single if you've got a single to go for. And okay, if you're going to release an LP, have a single to accompany that. Sure, why not do that the old school way? That works.
Yeah. But
there's no these strategies. A lot of them, I think that it comes down to consistency. If you're releasing semi-consistently, once a quarter, once every 6 months or something like that, I think that's more important than any kind of anything else, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sense.
Just before we call it a day, a couple things in the chat. Survey Channel says, I've been terribly worn out by social media, no joke. Yeah, I feel you, man. I have too. That's why I've been at the moment focusing mostly on YouTube and just taking that content to make reels and things like that. And then Big Cloudy says, I know from my semi-successful band that the danger of concentrating on longer form releases is that great album tracks plop out without really being listened to or appreciated. I mean, my question though is, do you think an album track that doesn't fit certain playlists and stuff like that, would it do well as a single? Their album tracks most likely for a reason, as they're part of an album and cohesive, but on their own maybe they don't stand as strong. I don't know, just a thought. And then also, I mean, that's the beauty of, you could release pre-order singles on Bandcamp, and then throughout the year on Spotify you could be releasing singles if you wanted to, and make that into an album on Bandcamp or something, or make EPs throughout the year where you make the singles and then you go from there on Bandcamp, something like that.
Yeah. You could cut the 15-minute intro off and release it as a
4-minute. Radio edit like Hydro Fighter said. Yeah.
That'd be a good way to go. Be a good way to go. I think we'll wrap it there. It's been a hell of a session this week, gentlemen.
Been quite a long one.
Back with a boom, as they say.
Yeah.
Been away for a couple of weeks. We'll come back together. Thank you ever so much for joining. The chat has been alive this week, and we love it. So thank you so much for coming down. Thank you for chipping in with your thoughts and your ideas and stuff. And it's great to kind of see all this kind
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. It's exactly what we're here for. So thank you so much indeed.
Yeah, and I just want to say a massive thank you again for checking out the new album, listening to it. If you want to help, consider sharing it. You can head to Bandcamp if you want to. I should also add, I'm doing a free live stream with some songs from the album, reinterpreted versions with DAWless hardware only, on October 22nd. It'll be on my Bandcamp. I'm going to release the live stream whatever notification, whatever you want to call it, on Bandcamp later today. If you want to check it out, I'd love to see you there. But yeah, it means a lot. Thank you guys.
Very much so. Hydro Fighter, any final words?
Yeah, maybe, but I don't like the term waterfall for what we were talking about before, because Eon understands what I'm talking about, because an IT waterfall works totally opposite. We can talk about that another time. It means you drop it. It's done, right? You're going agile is iteratively. So that's my 2 cents.
I like that.
Conversation for another day.
I like that. Eon Lake.
No, just to say, a bit Cloudy mentioned in the chat that they did his band to counteract that did about 3 EPs a year or something like that, and I kind of like that.
You could still release like a physical album or something at the end on Bandcamp, something like that.
Special edition box set or something. I don't know.
Survey Channel says he hates waterfall. Agile, baby.
Now, is that waterfall releases, or is that just waterfalls in general? That's what I
think that's just life in general.
Yeah. All that water. Yeah. God, it's so damp. Yeah.
Curse you, waterfalls. Curse you.
It's been lovely to have people in the chat again. I'll just reiterate with that. Thank you again. If you like what we do and you want it to carry on, consider sharing when we drop content of our own and letting people know, word of mouth. Tell people about what we do here, because we're a bunch of dudes who like to do what we do, and we'd like more people to know what we do, that kind of thing.
And you can check us out.
That's quite the tongue twister.
Wait, hold on. You can check us out over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I've also been testing out slightly more edited versions of these live streams on the Spotify, so there's a little more like cuts and things like that, just checking things out. But I'd love to hear your opinion on it. If you want to check it out, maybe leave a follow or a rating. I can't speak. It's been 2 hours.
A rating visage.
A rating visage. A visage of rating. Let's do that. Yeah, there we go. But anyways, it's been 2 hours. Why don't we call it here? Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.